outer space, in outer space, in outer space, 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 in outer space, in outer space, in outer space.
All right. Welcome to episode 00005 of the Vast Difference podcast. I'm ThugLife.
And I'm Charity.
And today we're going to talk about punctuality.
Payday.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Today our sponsor is Nabisco Teddy Grahams Breakfast Bears Graham Cereal. While other companies spend years researching and developing new cereal ideas, here at Nabisco, we're just like, it. Let's put Teddy Grahams in a box and call it a cereal. What? Now available at your local grocer or online at nabisco.teddygraham /Teddy_Grahams/cereal.php.
Awesome. Did you get the box that Nabisco sent to try it before we did the ad? I got mine. It was pretty good. I was impressed.
But my cat got into it, so I didn't get to enjoy it at all.
You know,
really unfortunate.
On the marketing where sometimes they say gluten-free or a high source of fiber, they should say doubles as a cat food.
A food that's safe for humans and cats.
We've got to stop making fun of our sponsors immediately after reading the ad, or we're not going to stay in business very long.
Oh, also, before we get into today's topics, I just remembered that last podcast we did not say what was the similarities between Mexico and socks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that the thing that puts those things together is that both Mexico and socks give you that warm, fuzzy feeling. So, yeah, that podcast is officially done.
Very nice. Another one in the books. And we're kind of at a milestone. I thought if we ever make it to episode 5, that means this podcast is actually going to keep becoming a podcast.
Yeah.
So,
hooray!
We made it. We did it.
Milestones are great.
Celebrate good times. Come on.
Yeah.
It's a celebration. Okay. So what was your topic? I actually didn't hear you at all because I was so excited about saying punctuality.
My topic was, oh gosh, I just forgot because I was gonna say cars, but payday. My topic was payday.
Oh, nice. It's a pretty good candy bar, right? I mean, distant second to Baby Ruth, but not that bad.
You did not just say payday was better than Baby. Oh, you said it was second to Baby Ruth.
Distant second, because Baby Ruth is the best.
Yeah, payday isn't even in number 2. Okay, Snickers would come after that.
I said a distant second, which means last.
Okay, I didn't know. In your world, second place also meant last place. Okay, all right, just for all our listeners out there. So if it tells you that you're in second place, then you are allowed to hit him over the head with a wet noodle. Also, we should probably, I don't know if you want people to know your real name.
Oh no, I gotta bleep that out. My name is ThugLife. You trying to get my identity stolen like just happened to you on Skype? Somebody sent me a malicious link to click and get my bank account hacked or something like that.
Yeah, one of my friends clicked on that. I was like, dude, I've never seen your links.
You ruined their life. Their credit is down the drain. All their money is stolen. They're probably getting kidnapped as we speak.
Hopefully they'll be able to fix that. I should ask them what was the link to. Was it anything interesting? Does the spammer make me look good?
You should click it and see.
I didn't send it to myself.
Live on the podcast. You can just look at the message you sent to me and click it.
No, that's like a specialized link for you, so I can't click on it.
Interessante. All right. Yeah, so payday.
Yeah. So you're right. I do think about things that are in my vicinity, and I just got paid. So I'm like, woo, dollar, dollar bills. And then I'll take out all the money from bills and stuff. And then I'll be like, oh, when's next payday? Because that's how things go.
Nice. For our viewers at home that are wondering about that, so each time when we start a podcast, we don't know what topic the other one's going to talk about. And we say, today we're going to talk about, and then we both say our topics at the same time. And me, being the dedicated podcast host that I am, I think about it all week. I do research. I ask friends for advice. I practice talking in the mirror about this. I get my diction all set. My inflection's correct. Charity doesn't think about it until I say, and today we're going to talk about. And so that's why she's talked about milk crate, socks, paychecks, which are the things that are in her direct line of vision. Because she cares so little about this podcast to give it any thought.
Not true. I think that the spirit of a true podcast is spontaneity.
Okay.
So I think I care about it more than you.
Fair point. You're at least better at it than I am. I care about it so much, but I'm awful. And you're just a natural. You have a God-given talent. But if you applied yourself, I think you could be the best.
A God-given talent to say what's in my immediate vicinity.
Lots of people can't do that. For example, blind people.
Oh, very true. Very dark. Get it? Very true. But side note, I recently found out that when you are blind, that you actually don't see the color black. You see absolutely nothing.
What?
Which is like a weird concept for me. So to test this out, they said cover one eye and then close one eye and then try to see what color you see out of that eye. But you don't see a color. It's absolutely nothing.
That's so interesting.
When you close both, you see the inside of your eyelid.
Oh, that's insane.
But if you try to see out of that one closed eye, if you say you see the color black, that's just your other eye looking towards that direction because you're trying to see over there. But there's absolutely nothing. And that just blew my mind.
That's
like,
incredible.
I can't wrap my mind around the concept of nothing.
I know, it's so weird. It's the same thing about like trying to wrap your mind around the concept of infinity.
Yeah.
Like what came before the start of the universe and what will come after. Or that, you can travel as far as you want to get to the edge of infinity. And when you finally find the edge of space, what's right outside of it? I mean...
Yeah, if there is an edge of space.
Our finite mind can...
Let's stop scaring our viewers and me.
Okay.
And talk about punctuality.
And no more jokes about disabilities. I mean, we need to put a lid on that.
That was not a joke. And I'm pretty sure that even blind people would find that funny. Not to say that blind people don't find it.
You've got a lot of optical nerve to make that joke. I risk you would not say those jokes anymore. That's a joke. I joke for our Japanese viewers who speak English. I risk you would not say that joke anymore. So that's offensive on two levels.
Oh,
okay.
God.
You get it because I wish, Irish, and iris.
Oh my God. Okay, now I got that one. I was like, why is that particular to Japanese?
I like that sometimes when I tell a really obscure joke that's difficult, that isn't able to be gotten, that you'll laugh at it anyway, and then I'll explain it, and you'll be like, oh, now I get it.
Okay, and that one thing I'm laughing at is because you look so excited to tell your joke that I just can't not give you a reaction. You look so happy.
I was very happy.
Happiness is contagious,
So speaking about infinity, in Japan, there is a beautiful culture of punctuality, and people always do what they say they're going to do. So, for example, if you say, hey, would you like to go get coffee sometime? They're like, yeah, let me check my schedule. I've got time in 3 weeks on Thursday at 7 o'clock. And you're like, okay, great. That sounds like a long time from now. We're both going to be completely different people, but okay. But then in 3 weeks, without any reminder from either of you, you show up at the coffee place and you're both there, right at 7. In Peru, time has no meaning at all. So on Friday, I was supposed to go out and eat pizza and listen to live music with a friend. They were going to come over at 8. A little after 8, they said, sorry, I'm running a little bit late. I'm going to jump in the bath right now. Jump in the shower right now. It'll just be a few minutes. An hour and a half later, they messaged me again. Okay, I'm done showering.
Oh, my God.
And they eventually arrived at 11:30, 3.5 hours late. So you'd think...
See, that's why there's a water shortage.
See? But you'd think, okay, maybe it's just one very unpunctual person. But then I had a group of friends. We were going out for Halloween. And they said, okay, we're going to come over to your house at 8 so we can get ready and get to the event at 9. And I said, perfect. That'll give me time to sleep, take a nap, get all pumped up, clean my house, shower, everything. They called me at 6:30 and said, we're on our way. We'll be there in 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, weren't you going to get here at 8? They said, we're going to get there at 7. And so I'm like rushing around, showering, cleaning my house super fast. Got everything done just in time, waiting for them to get here at 7. Didn't show up until 9:30.
Wow.
If they were going to be an hour and a half late, why would they call me 3 hours earlier and tell me they were showing up in 30 minutes?
South American time thing is just like unreal. When I lived in Argentina, they would tell me a time to be someplace. I'm like, okay, so you just told me the American time. Now tell me the Argentinian time when I should show up. If you say 6 p.m. and I show up at 6 p.m. and no one is ready or like available, I'm going to be super embarrassed. So you have to tell me exactly when to show up because that is when I would do it.
What's it like in Busan, South Korea?
In Busan, it's my Korean friends are usually a little bit late, but not too much. Not like 3 hours late, more like 15, 20 minutes late. But I always show my frustration and they try to be better at it next time.
Nice.
But yeah. Do you feel better now that you got that off your chest? Like that was like really powerful.
I know. I've just been so annoyed by it, like, and that people don't like apologize or seem to care at all. They just show up, hey, like nothing happened. 3.5 hours late. Shouldn't you like be like, hey, sorry, I got in a traffic accident or something like that? There's no reason to be 3.5 hours late.
Different cultures, man. Different cultures. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I think having been in Japan for 6 months before I came here has really exacerbated this because I mean, if I would have went from America to this, you're just like, okay, cool, people are late. But I went from like people on their life showing up 1 minute before everything. Like if the subways were even running 2 minutes late, they would have big warnings up on the screens and stuff like that because everybody's so punctual there.
Yeah.
So it's just huge difference. It's just a vast difference.
Nice.
The end. Thanks, everybody. It's been a nice ride. That's the last podcast. We solved it.
And now that's the culmination of all your grades.
All right. So, speaking of our 5-episode anniversary, I think it's time to introduce a new segment to the podcast. Viewer question time. Oh, wait. Our viewers are called STD carrier. No. VD carriers. VD carriers.
VD carriers. Oh, my God. Don't give them a different disease.
VD carriers because vast difference is VD podcast. And what you do as a podcast, you carry it on your phone and in your heart. So we have two questions from VD carriers. I can read, how about I read this one that I've got, and then you can read the one you've got? Okay. So this question comes from VD carrier Jacques Andel 123. I think that's an anonymous name, hopefully, or his parents are messed up.
Oh, nice.
To name your kid 123 at the end of their name.
Oh, there was a kid named John 2.0.
Really? On his birth certificate?
Like literally 2.0. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Is he famous? Oh, I mean, I guess he's famous because you know about him, but like, what's he do?
He comes in second place.
Or last, as it's also known. Okay. This question comes from Jacques Andel 123. I remember I was hammering on a fence in the backyard when Dad approached. He was carrying a ladder or something in his hand, and he looked worried. I continued to hammer as he came toward me. Son, he said, why are you hammering on that fence? It already has plenty of nails in it. Oh, I'm not using nails, I replied. I'm just hammering. With that, I returned to my hammering. Dad asked me to stop hammering as he had some news. I did stop hammering, but first I got in a couple more hammers. And this seemed to make my dad mad. I said stop hammering, he yelled. I think he felt bad for yelling at me, especially since it looked like he had bad news. Look, he said, you can hammer later, but first... Well, I didn't even wait to hear the rest. As soon as I heard, you can hammer, that's what I started doing. Hammering away, happy as an old hammer dog. Dad tried to physically stop me from hammering by inserting a small log of some sort between my hammer and the fence, but I just kept on hammering because that's the way I get when I get that hammer going. Then he just grabbed my arm, and made me stop. I'm afraid I have some news for you, he said. I swear, what I did next was not hammering. I was just letting the hammer swing lazily at arm's length, and maybe it tapped the fence once or twice, but that's all. Apparently, this didn't make any difference whatsoever to Dad because he just grabbed my hammer out of my hand and flung it across the field. And when I saw my hammer flying helplessly through the air like that, I just couldn't take it. I burst out crying, I admit it. And I ran to the house as fast as my legs could take me. Son, come back, yelled Dad. What about your hammer? But I could not have cared less about hammering at that point. I just ran to the house and flung myself into the bed, pounding the bed with my fist. I pounded and pounded until finally behind me I heard a voice. As long as you're hammering, why not use this? I turned and it was Dad, holding a brand new solid gold hammer. All right, that's a pretty weird question. I don't think it qualifies as a question.
No, it is not. But it was definitely worth listening to.
It wasn't the question, but it is the answer.